Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Good
All
evening.
right. Good evening. We call the advisory meeting to order at 6:02 with 6 out of 7 members present. Um, and with that, the top item on our agenda tonight is further discussion of the FY27 budget with potential votes on items. And we did invite 2 guests. And Andrew, I don't know if you want to pull up, probably are pulling up some of the information, but I would be in favor of
I'm going to show the
discussing.
recap real quick just to show where we're
Sure.
at.
Yeah, start with that and then discussing items related to the guests who are in attendance since it is Friday night and we will not hold people up.
Let me just
Can,
fix
can,
something.
can we make sure we wrap up by 9 o'clock?
Oh,
Yes,
yeah.
we definitely will, Claire. Thank you. We will honor
So,
the request.
Thank
um,
you.
yeah. So as of now, yeah, I think we're about a 5.3% increase year over year for single family. I think that's with a 7% increase in Algonquin. I think the hope is that that gets down to 5, which would put us at about just under 5%. Um, and I think one of the
Andrew, are you
important.
I'm sorry, Andrew. Are you counting on a state match to get that down to 5? For
No, I,
Algonquin?
I think I think they're using the current cherry sheets there. I think it's just, sharpening the pencils.
Okay. More reductions or no?
I'm not entirely sure. It just Greg seemed to think that that was a target. We're keeping 7 in there now, but hopeful. I mean, we haven't seen what that would entail or what they think they can do. Maybe they're releasing more E&D. I'm not entirely sure.
Thanks, Andrew.
But yeah, so I mean, as of right now, even with the 7%, there's a couple other movements that we've had in here since the last meeting. We are, not needing an override, just barely.
And
Uh,
Andrew, to be clear, this excludes the funding for the warrant articles, right?
no, this includes the
What does it
warrant
include?
article funding.
From free cash, yeah?
Yeah.
All right.
Well, no. Yeah. So this includes 175. Well, it includes 175K for the Article 1, and it includes 677,000 of capital items over here that I think they just wanted to. The idea is to put them as free cash so that you can order the equipment earlier. It's you just one pocket to the other. It doesn't really matter which line item, but because you take them out of free cash, you could technically go and order it exactly after town meeting.
But to be clear, if Articles 2 and 3 pass, then that would put it over probably the levy range, huh? Or you'd have to rearrange the numbers in order to be under
Yeah, if we do Article 2 and 3, we will be well over the 11 of.
it. Got it. Thank you.
I mean, what does it look like if Article 2 passes?
Article 2, I think, was 300, 200 something thousand, I think, 300,000. So, I mean, yeah, any of the two of them combined, I think we're close to 700,000. So,
Yeah.
either of the two passes, we're back in the red.
Yeah. Article 200. Phase 260 was phase 1, 240 was phase 2, and Article 3 was 324.
So, I don't think town meeting is going to be very happy if we are telling them that they can only have a NERI study, and if they want a FIN or a TRIDIA study, then we have to do an override. That's going to make them angry.
Well, I don't think that's the statement that I think that would cause us with the current budget we have to cause it. That doesn't mean that we can't say, hey, okay, now that we approved both of those, we got to bond some of this stuff or get rid of some of these projects or cut closer, or talk about getting rid of headcount. Or, we could do other things to get back to black. But, the question is how much do we want to cut? I mean, in my mind, I think we need to start feeling comfortable with a 5% yearly increase. I mean, as you say, we're only increasing 3% in expenditures, but the problem is our revenue and our local aid does not increase as fast as our expenditures does. And this 3% is almost entirely salaries that are contractually obligated between a COLA and a step increase, plus healthcare and some other stuff that's just a little bit outside of our.
Andrew, that's a great point to think about recurring sort of operating expenses versus one-timers, right? So a lot of the CapEx is a one-timer, the school stuff is a one-timer. That's a very good context to put, right? Because presumably one-timers, I mean, you always have them, but it will fluctuate year to year.
Yeah, and that's kind of this capital articles, like that's kind of the one-time stuff there, and then you have the debt. There is quite a lot of these articles down here that capital bonding, right? We had that big road project, we had the roof replacement at Trotty or Neary. This is a lot of authorization than we currently do. The other update is Brian is assuming that if we do the road and sidewalk bond, the 25 million we talked about, that would be debt excluded. So it would go to the ballot, and just like we had to approve for the public safety, that would be excluded. It doesn't really change much for FY27, but for 28 and on, like those are some bigger debt numbers that would be excluded from the levy.
Yeah, I mean, it seems to me what you're presenting is just a working document we have now on the assumption that one passes. If one doesn't, or 2 and 3 do, then we come back and we figure out what we do from there.
Right.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of time between the two town meetings to figure out what we're going to do. They're going to want to have an informed decision, and telling them that you can only do one study for one school, or you have to cut capital items is not going to be received well.
I mean, we're not telling them anything. It's their vote, right? I mean, they vote on all the capital items individually. They can remove one at town meeting, or they can vote not to do whatever. I mean, we're just proposing something.
Right.
Right.
I think that's a really good point. I mean, the numbers are what they are. Like, they have a decision that they can make as the town. I think it's a hard choice. I agree with you, Tim. People might not like it, but I don't see how we can have everything we want.
I think it's our job. I think it's our job to tell the town, like, here are your options. Like, do one study, cut these capital items, or cut this department, cut this budget number specifically. Like, I think the town is looking to us for options, and we're basically saying, here's a mess. Do what you want.
Or it's you approve this and then you approve an override. I mean, we could always go over. We just need to do an override. So, I mean, and I think the other spreadsheet I'll put up is basically what we look like for the next few years, just to show that we're in trouble next year, no matter what.
I appreciate your comment, Andrew, about maybe we should consider that we have a 5.3% increase every year, but I don't think a lot of people are going to accept that as the norm. And I'm not really in favor of that.
They're not, you're right.
I mean, it sounds low, but year over year, before you know it,
I'm sorry, what did you, can you just repeat, what is not the norm, or is the norm? You said?
Andrew had a very, a reasonable thought. I'm not arguing with the premise of it, that we might have to get used to 5.3% or around 5% is the average that we should expect to have an increase in every year. I am just suggesting that I don't think a lot of voters in town are going to think that's a fair amount.
Well, the part that we're not a part of is the bargaining agreements and everything.
I completely agree.
That's out there puts in a minimum of 3 plus the capital. So unfortunately, what Andrew's saying is contractually obligated. Most of the stuff we're talking about, we have absolutely no say on. you're contractually obligated for raises, whether, and again, this is off topic of how we got
Yeah.
there, but advisory has no comment or opinion or anything on that because we're not
But-
part of those negotiations, and those are
We're not.
that's what it's going to
Yeah, I
be.
mean,
Right?
unless
But
you're going
we
to break
do-
the unions, right? I mean, I think
Right.
that, and Barry, correct me if I'm wrong, but the COLA is 3%, and then the step is usually like 2 or 3% as well. So it's like 5 or
Yeah,
6%.
Yeah, there's 2% built into the table. So every year someone moves up a step, they automatically get 2%. And then personnel approved an additional 3%. So that's how you get to 5.
Yeah.
And
So if we're locked into a 5% baseline, I agree. And Tim, I'm not sure if that's what you were saying, but we should be educating the voters that you're going to be facing 5% every year. That's if nothing gets approved.
Well, that's assuming nothing else changes, right? That's why we keep
Correct,
pushing
but
for
That's
other
right.
tax, other sources of income. And,
Yeah, and if we do get more income or whatever in other towns, basically like the town will shoot it down. It's like then we're going to keep losing headcount, right? If you want level service, we're probably looking at a 5% increase. We can always cut capital a little bit, right? We can help it a little bit, but if we keep capital the same, and we should be investing in capital, then it's going to be probably a 5%. And we should either get used to that, or we should tell people that we need to start artificially, trying to lower headcount, get rid of services every year to try to keep under that threshold.
I mean, well, good discussion. Appreciate that.
Yeah, but so this is Brian did a quick kind of like what are we looking at in the out years just to kind of show what FY 28, 29, 30. So I think when we get to town meeting, I think that's important for them to know. Like this is the last year we think we can squeeze by with no override, right? We're kind of moving stuff around. We're using a lot of our free cash. Like we were lucky that we had about $1 million more in free cash this year than we usually do. Which we can't rely on next year. So I think we're going to be, and we're approving again, like a significant amount of debt, of which we only have 300,000 or so of short-term interest this year, but it's like 1.6 million next year.
Andrew, they're going to want to know the drivers behind these increases.
I mean, this is just this stuff, with the COLA increases year over year and, debt service on what we've approved. Keeping capital basically flat, but increasing it a little bit, going from 1.58 to 1.6, and then it's just the debt service that we've already approved. I mean, it's not even aggressive. This is just, as you can see, we went from 3.6 million in levy to 1.4 to none. We eat in just on steady state. We eat into our levy capacity, between 1.4 and 1.8 million a year.
And what
Does the new growth numbers have the 40Bs and the potential MBTA that's on the boards now, and as well as the potential EMC site in there at all?
I think he has it in here for the 2029 number. Because the 1.2
Yeah, that looks like a pretty substantial jump there.
would be this, I think, is the right calculation. That's a big, I think that's 78 million of additional assessed value increase in that year. So I think he's kind of factoring it in. But
I guess what is he factoring in? Why that far out?
I don't know.
Okay.
All I got is a spreadsheet, and Brian
Okay.
left
Maybe
for the
we should
weekend
Brian
and
on.
said, "If you need anything, talk to me next week." But yeah,
Okay.
We can invite them to come.
Maybe we need
yeah. I
to-
mean, it
Chat.
could be not aggressive or aggressive enough. I don't know, but I mean the incremental increase of just Costco itself over the existing assessed value there is not
Right.
huge. It's maybe
Right.
I don't know 10 million or so, right?
Which
But
is maybe
it's the
why
rest
he-
of the complex is where we get
Yeah.
the real value.
And that's why it may be that far out, because that's what it's like. But again, I'm
Correct.
curious. I'm guessing the 28 then is again, there's 2 40Bs and then possibly a third complex going in. There's a lot of growth, just not in the portion.
Hey, Andrew, with respect to the Articles 2 and 3, I think it's a little bit, I'm not going to use a strong word, misleading, but to not include them, this is following what Tim is saying. I think if people are going to parse this line by line to exclude those specifically and to say, look, if everything is in, it's an override, and then the town can figure out what they want to or what not to fund, right? But and I'm not approaching it from the standpoint of because I supported them, but I think it's just to include one versus all three. I think unless it's super obvious that that's the case. I think they're going to be. I mean, look, they're open for a surprise if they end up funding 2 and 3. So I'm wondering if it makes sense to either have a version with them and then without, so it's clear, or somehow make a comment about that.
We could put that in our letter, perhaps, because don't forget that this budget won't
It's also
be at
special
the
town
March
meeting.
2nd meeting.
This is annual.
That
town
won't be
meeting.
exactly.
Yeah,
So
This
we'll
will be
know by the
April
time
meeting.
we get to annual town meeting what was approved at special. At special town meeting we could say this isn't going to cost us anything because it's coming out of free cash. It's not a problem. We'll talk to you at annual, right?
Right, because when you get to normal town meeting, or even at the special town meeting, you could say, "Look, we don't buy 2 pieces of capital because people choose to get the schools."
Yeah.
Should be it'll be. I don't know if we have that discussion at the special town meeting, but that's kind of how I look at it. Is you can pick and choose whatever you want. But if we're only doing this now as an interim ahead of April, right? That's when the normal town meeting is.
Right.
And I think that's fine. We just to contextualize it though when we present our argument on Articles 2 and 3. So we're just not saying it forces an override because you could just get rid of other stuff and not have an override, right?
And I think the override technically wouldn't be because of this; it would be because of everything else, right?
Exactly.
We would have already approved this, right? But I think, for me, just on a standalone, whether or not we need the override or not, I don't think 2 and 3 are worth the cost, right? So that's just
and that's perfectly
whether or not we had many millions of levy capacity,
Yeah.
I still wouldn't be interested in doing it.
Yeah, and I'm not saying you have to be or not have to be. It's just a matter of how it's presented as the impact on the budget, right? Because in and of themselves, they don't cause the override. It's the totality of the whole budget.
And I agree with Tim and I guess Eric too, that we should show them, right? We don't agree. I'll speak for myself that I think from our vote, we don't think 2 and 3 should go through.
Yeah.
That's not our choice. That's theirs. But we should give them the facts that if you do that, we do need to show them somehow.
Well, and again, annual town meeting is what does advisory think should go in front of the voters, right? Somebody can always hold something, make an amendment on the floor, right? But we decide what the numbers are presented, and then it can be changed from there, right? So if we all think that, if those all get approved and we should have an override, not have an override.
Yeah.
Okay.
Again, for me, this is just a working document that we're using for our analytical purposes.
Yeah.
That will be further informed, obviously, by what happens at the March town meeting.
And
And
it's
we're
a
gonna
working
make a
document for
judgment.
annual town meeting more than it is for special.
Yeah.
Correct, but I think we should somehow at special, and I think I'm just reiterating what Tim said, that we need to make people aware that while we heard you that we're putting all these options out there, they have a cost and they affect somewhere else down the line. Because most people don't think that way. They think in the moment and they think passionately more than
It's
that.
a simple message of, listen, the budget's real tight this year. By approving this additional or this whole 997,000 or whatever the number is, it may trigger us either to need an override or to cut more out of FY27 budget than either advisory or select board would feel comfortable at this point in time. FYI.
Yep, and just
I've
there's
already
hard
written
choices
this
coming.
down. I've written this down for our draft letter. I think that should be like one of our final sentences, perhaps in our letter to town meeting for March 2nd.
Yeah, that there are hard choices coming. This is the beginning of it, right here. Okay.
Andrew, do you
All
have a sheet that shows the percent increase year over year for each department?
Sorry, Tim, the percent increase of what?
For each department at the department level.
Yeah, the head
Yeah, that's
sheet,
this
The operational budget.
tab.
Take a look.
head sheet, that's it, yeah.
Advisory's coming in at a solid discount, so nobody can argue with us. We did our job.
Yeah, public safety, I assume that's mostly being driven by the hires.
Yeah, that's the timing issue of, we only did a partial year in 26 and now we have the full year mostly. Plus there's big
You know,
contractual upgrades there.
can you scroll down? Yeah. People are going to look at benefits.
Well, so is.
Yeah.
so are
And
we-
benefits has come down, I think, over $1 million with what they're trying to do with HSA accounts and high deductibles and things like that. So it's getting better, but still not great.
And to be clear, the benefits school, those are the teachers that are within our town borders. Is that include Algonquin too, or no?
No, Algonquin's own, they included in their line.
That's what I thought. Okay.
All right. Do we want to bring over guests to talk about their specific budgets and then go back to the bigger picture? Feel
You
comfortable
want to
with
bring
that?
over Travis or Bill first?
Let's bring over Bill. So I think DPW is. I think we don't have that many questions for either. So I think if we want to start with DPW, if Bill's good with that.
Hello,
Hello.
Hi,
Thanks
Bill.
for coming.
how's everyone?
Excellent.
We're good. How are you?
Thank you. so
Good.
much. So, at one of our last meetings, we were looking at your budget. I know you met with Andrew, and Andrew has explained a lot to us already. But I think some members had specific questions for you on your budget, Bill. And maybe I don't know
Sure.
if things have changed since last time or not, but
I think it was
Pull
more
that
on the
up here.
capital items than anything, if I
I
remember
think so
correctly.
too. Was it the hold on here? Where was the one item that I
I
think
think it was the two
was the dump
It's the
Dump
two
trucks.
trucks. at
The dump truck.
262,000.
So are you talking about the ground service vehicle or the cabin chassis?
the 235,000.
Yeah, the
Cabin
problem,
chassis.
I did talk to Chris about this just to follow up on the need. And I guess we have a pretty structured plan. And even over the next several years, we're going to have some capital vehicle replacements that are needed, which is why we're reluctant about pushing that off a year. It's really just kicking the can down the road.
I assume the 262 is the cost of a new vehicle?
That's correct. That's just the cab and chassis. We're keeping the body from the existing vehicle, and that's just the cab and chassis itself.
And what is the likelihood of finding used for that?
We could certainly explore that.
Well, it says
I
used
know-
if possible. That's why I raise it.
I mean, we could certainly explore that. I'd largely rely on Chris's input on that. I know it's not been the practice, so I'm not sure. I know they've been in that practice of getting new equipment and then driving it until its useful life is over. So, I'd even have to take a look at the numbers to see if that makes sense.
And Bill, I know we went through this with fire years ago, of talking about used so we can kind of get the cycles trued up. Like, so it's not we're replacing two dump trucks every, 10 years at the same exact time. It's like, get a 5-year used
Right.
one and then, you're kind of staggering the cycles. So maybe that's just worth a conversation with Chris to see if that has any validity in trying to, time things so that they're not in the same
Yeah.
year.
Yeah, I think the current plan does achieve that, but there are a few years when we have a heavy lift like this one.
How many of these type of trucks do we have, Bill?
Our fleet is probably this size trucks. We probably
Yeah.
got about six to
Okay.
8. I would
Okay.
estimate. Yeah.
And when you say useful life, I guess that depends on how much it's used. But is there an average here? Like we
Yeah,
replace
the-
this now, it'll be good for like, I don't know, 5, 6 years or 10.
These two vehicles are frontline vehicles that are out in snow events like tonight, and they the current ones are regularly breaking down, and that's where
Okay.
the expense comes in. When you start getting into these, heavy equipment parts, is costly, and so the while your own personal vehicle might be a little different because there's a lot more of them out there, and the parts are relatively common. Sometimes we have to go out and search for parts on these vehicles, and it's just not, it's cost prohibitive, I guess is what I'm trying to say,
Okay.
to maintain something past about 10 to 12 years.
Okay. All right. Did anyone have additional questions for Bill tonight? I think that was the main one.
And Bill, you did push out the Gator for a year, so and
We did.
yeah, we'll talk about the. I think we could talk about the tree survey one. I think there's a grant that might be available for that. That'll cover half of it, so maybe we should look at that. But I think you already pushed that one off, so I think we're okay there.
Nope, that's fine.
So, Bill, I hate to ask this because, we heard it earlier about kicking the can down the road, and frankly, we've been famous for it, especially at the DPW. And I know we're playing catch up, so I'm always sensitive to that, and I know we're continue to play catch up. But if there was something you had to defer, what's your? I don't want to say your first choice because there is none. Your least favorite. What would that be? So.
Oh, well, I'd say the ground service dump truck could probably go a year.
Okay.
If I had,
because that's just kicking it down, and I don't know what's on next year and how far.
no, I've spoken to Chris about this, and that's one we discussed. We prefer to get it this year, but given the state of the condition of the the budget, we could postpone that for a year.
Okay. Again, we're still looking at, next year doesn't look any better, to be honest, because right now we're funding studies for a school. Right. Next, we're gonna have to fund whatever those studies decide. So, but there is a roof this year. I think there's a roof next year. But
Yeah, I mean, you can always lease them or finance them if you really wanted to, right? Again, but then we're just spreading the pain out further.
And I don't love leases, especially, once the lease is over, the lease is over.
Well, these are financial leases, not operating leases.
Yeah.
So you own the thing at the end. It's
Lease
just
to buy, yeah.
they call it a lease because that's how you get around some of the bonding issues. So it's technically every year you could opt out of it if you don't have the financials, but basically at the end of it you own it, as opposed to like you are only leasing the depreciated value.
And I'm sure the interest rates aren't nearly as good as
Right.
So the leases are a better interest rate than bonding, and it costs us less money legally than to do the bond. So that's why we've done them in the past. But you're just paying interest. So it's do you want to pay cash now,
right,
or do you want to have the pain and pay it off later and pay interest? Is really the game you play.
Right. Okay.
Do we have any other questions for Bill tonight? Howard, I hope I didn't cut you off there.
No, not at all. Like I said, I
Okay.
was hoping that one of the, those $262,000 things could be deferred, but at this point, it's the big ticket items we're looking at. That just to make any dent.
Okay. Bill, did you have anything else you wanted to alert us to?
I think that's it. I think I've explained everything to the extent I can in the past meetings, and I'm comfortable with it. If either the board or the people feel it's not something worth pursuing, I respect that.
All right, we
So-
appreciate your time.
What about the fiber line? Is that on or off? Or
I think that got
we
pulled.
that one. Yeah.
okay. Sorry.
Yeah, it's up here in the.
I had that question too, Howard, and I see it was gone.
I'm still working off the paper sheets that we have not
I
updated.
know, I still have him too. Okay,
'Cause
all
that's
right.
what my notes are.
I think that might be it for you, Bill.
Okay. Good luck,
We
everyone.
really appreciate it on a Friday night.
Thank you,
Be
Bill.
safe. Be safe. Okay. Bye.
Thank you.
I'll bring Travis over if that's okay, Marcy.
Yeah, go right ahead. Thank you, Travis, for waiting.
Hello.
Hello. Hi, Travis.
Can everybody
Thanks
hear
for
me okay?
coming.
No worries. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, so I think at one of our last meetings, we had a few questions for you and your budget. I think in particular related to, Andrew, correct me if I'm wrong, or others, the Fayetteville Park
Which,
grounds
as you
project.
see, is off of here because I think the understanding is it would be a CPC project, so we would see it
Okay.
when it came through that way. But regardless, the project eventually is going to need to be voted on, so it's worth having the conversation.
Correct.
Would you want to talk to us a little bit about that, Travis? What you
Yeah,
guys are
happy
looking
to.
to do there? Thank you.
Yep. So I'm in a hockey rink, so if you hear some background noise, I
Okay.
apologize. Yeah, so it's a CPC project, and I don't know if you guys watched the CPC meeting we had last night. It did get deferred to the fall.
Okay.
So we are gonna wait till the fall to see if we can move forward with it. The project itself is Fort Fay Memorial Park. It's repurposing the old T-ball, not the old, the T-ball field that baseball and softball currently doesn't use too much. And we talked with youth baseball; they were on board with it about possibly putting some more money or resources, I should say, into the complex at Finn and adding a field there. I think they have a T-ball field that they can put some work in, so they can have a little more centralized facilities, which is great. And then Fay would be a very small dog park, and then a 2,000 square foot splash pad, and adding a walking trail or walking path around the perimeter of the park, which makes it totally accessible, which is wonderful for everyone. And so that's kind of the project in a nutshell. We did apply for a Land Water Conservation Fund grant, which is a National Park Service grant. We just applied in January. We're not going to hear for another few months, and actually deferring it to the fall. Actually, at that point, we'll know if we got the grant or not. So it might actually help. But one of the things we're hoping to do over the next few months leading up to the fall is we're going to hold a few community engagement sessions, and then parking seems to be the emphasis for Fayetteville Park because there's not a ton of it. So trying to figure out what we can do for parking and kind of looking at all options for that. We toyed the idea of maybe doing a parking study with PAR. So we're kind of in the early stages of that. That's going to be something we talk about the rec commission in the next month. That's kind of it in a nutshell. But it is a CPC project that did get deferred to the fall. The feedback was overwhelmingly positive for it, which is great. I think we put a survey out and we had over 350 responses, which was wonderful. And the feedback was very positive. It's just the parking is a puzzle we're trying to solve, and now we have a little time to do that.
Okay.
Okay. That's very helpful. I mean, to know that it's going to CPC, I think, I'm not sure I realized that part. I don't know if others did, but
But
Yeah,
it wasn't last time we spoke, it wasn't there. It was still
right. So
Yeah, I
good
apologize
news.
if you. Yeah, we didn't realize that the capital, especially with the year being the year it is. I don't think that's something we would go to capital for.
All right.
and-
Looks like Tim has a question for you.
I do.
Yes.
You said splash pad, right?
Yes.
Water park.
Splash pad water park. It's a splash pad, 2,000 square feet. Something that we actually use the open space and recreation plan the town did, I think in 2018. And when they surveyed the public, and I forget, it was a couple hundred people, I think aquatic facility or aquatics was mentioned over 40 times. So we're not putting in a pool, but this is a water feature that we can put in, and it's great because it's something that can be used longer in the year, and it's totally accessible for everyone that wants to use it.
What do you mean longer in the year?
So a pool is generally with lifeguards and everything like that. You're opening in early July and you're closing in mid-August because your lifeguards either do fall sports or they're going back to college. With chemicals, utilities, all that fun stuff, it gets super expensive. So splash pad is nice because the liability is far, far less. And you can open them in May. There's little you need to do besides opening them up and then winterizing them in the fall. And you can actually keep it. I've seen some that, if you have a very warm fall, can stay open on weekends and stuff through October. So it's something that a water element that you can keep it open 5, 6, maybe 7 months out of the year, depending on the weather.
Okay. Who would be responsible for the treatment of the water?
That'd be the rec department and DPW. DPW do winterization, and we've had conversations with them along the way. But we're hoping to do some rec programming down there and stuff like that. The rec program would help. Fees raised by rec programming, and even maybe birthday parties, which we do contract out there, could be a funding source for park maintenance and upgrades as well. So we are looking at that as well.
Okay. One more question.
Yep.
As a town, we do have somewhat of a history of summertime water bans. What happens?
So that's the most water parks, or I shouldn't say water parks, splash pads now are recycled water, which is far more environmentally friendly. They use recycled water, they treat it and recycle it, so it uses far less water. And you can actually restrict it and turn it off. So I've seen some that you push a button on an element and it turns on for 10 minutes. So it's not something that you just leave on throughout the day. So there are things that you can do that help combat water bans. And I know that's kind of a thing we live in now, and that affects a lot of communities. So we want to be sensitive to that.
Tim, when have we had a water ban? I don't even know if I remember one, do we?
A lot of them, Andrew, are voluntary water bans.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I know like Ashland does and Hopkinton because they have the wells, but yeah, I think they voluntary makes sense to me. I've never.
Yeah, I just don't want a water park that we can't use in the summertime.
I just
100%. And I know a lot of towns struggle with it, and they have the push button ones that will turn them on for 10 minutes. You can adjust the timers on them so they're only open from certain times throughout the day. But the recycled water system really helps save water.
We'll just pull it out of the reservoir with a bucket.
You could do that too. I mean, we could clear out and have people hop over the train tracks to get to the reservoir and make that beach. I'm sure we'd love that. Just kidding.
Yeah.
Does anyone have additional questions for Travis? I think the big one has been answered since this has moved over to CPC, but
I think now that it's CPC and it's fall, I don't know if it's as much of a concern now as before.
Travis, I'm just curious. This is Eric. What is the overall cost? I missed that. Sorry.
So it's roughly 1.1 million. I don't have the number in front of me. And the vast majority of, I think, I don't have it in front of me, but I think it's 700 to 800 of that was the splash pad.
Got it.
Wow.
And when you have it, does it increase operating costs? So you mentioned DPW and rec. Is it going to increase the personnel required or the hours to maintain this park? Is that going to be a budget item that's going to come up later, or?
Nope. So the whole goal of the project is to use rec programming and fees, so it wouldn't fall on the user. But there will be like an additional utility cost that would be for water, and we estimated that to be around $4,000 or $5,000 annually. And that's something we can raise money through program fees that we'll be doing down there. Hopefully a little bit more of. So that was the goal. We really don't want to add to our operating costs to make the project come to fruition. We'd like to try to use recreation and program fees for some good.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Travis, we really appreciate your time and joining us from the hockey.
No worries. I'm sorry for the background and the pucks flying around. So thank you for having me. I hope I answered all your questions.
I think you did. Thank you very much.
All right, guys. Have a good weekend.
Thank you. You too.
Awesome.
All right. One other thing on our agenda in terms of, I think, specific department budgets was to do a quick review of, I don't know where Howard just went to, but police. Howard, you met with the police. So do you want to give us a briefing on that? Or Andrew, if you could bring up the police budget.
Can you still hear me?
Yep, we can hear you now. Sorry, you just disappeared for a second.
Just give me a minute to find the detailed one.
Okay. Howard, you want to start by telling us how it went?
Sure. It's always great to meet with the chief. It's always pleasant. They're pretty strong with what they're doing. They're adamant. They think they're in a really good place. They appreciate the support, and I think the town has been noticeably appreciative of the increased presence. So I think all of that are good things. They're filling all the positions they have. I think they have 2 open spots at the moment, or 3 because some of the midnight shift person left, but they had 40 applicants for those positions, so they're not, they're just picking the right one for the best fit. Morale seems to be at its highest level in a very long time. And then, and then it came to us because the first thing that we looked at is one of the things we considered was pulling back one of the positions we promised them last year. And I don't want to call it devastating news to them, but that really, took them for a loop instead, for a moment because of the plans and how well it's moving. And we talked, and one of the things that we didn't talk about last year that kind of makes sense, but we didn't, we hired officers, but we didn't count, that now we have these capital things because of course that we need more cars, right? Because we have more people on the road and where the shifts are going out, so we have more capital expenses. I did ask Chief that to perhaps include those next time and give a fuller picture, and he admitted that yes, he's still getting his hands on some of the budgeting. He's much stronger at it now, and the new budgets are much tighter and much more thought out. We're looking at the overall increases on some of these. We find Andrew's screen. You can see, I don't know if you can see in the, most of the increase, you can see contractual. We, one of the things that's hitting at the exact same time is there was a new negotiated contract at the, right as we added all these contract officers, and, the new contract is favorable to keeping our officers in place. If you remember, we did have a challenge with retention because they were just being poached by other towns who were paying more, which is just horrible. And part of that was I think the chief is comfortable, and I don't want to put words in his mouth, but feels, because of those increases and because we have the staff and the promises to move forward, that's been morale, and the workplace environment has been completely upgraded. So as we talked about this, one of the things I didn't realize, one of the things that one of the benefits of having all these officers, and it's not my favorite benefit, but of how they get there, but they actually are producing revenue from tickets, from other fees that they charge for for calls and fire alarms and all that. It's gone up. It went up between 24 and 25. It went up over $100,000 in just increased revenue by having more officers on the road. And I'm not saying that's going to continue, but the simple fact is the revenue of writing tickets, warranted tickets, or having the people to actually, patrol and stop people from doing something wrong is actually profitable. Not to mention the real thing is the safety. If we pull back a position, which is one of the suggestions, it's going to force them to rethink their school resource officer. And having someone, a daughter in the schools who's seen that presence and has commented on it, I think that's been a very positive influence, having that officer available to the schools. Our detectives were, unfortunately, being on the corridor of Route 9 and some of the growth we've had more crime. There's certain places in town that are known entities that have calls daily at this point. I don't know if you've been watching, the reports in the news of things that, they're getting much better on their social media presence to let people know as well
Mhm.
what's happening and what they're taking care of. I think we heard this last year, because Route 9 is a central corridor and we have 495 right here, we are a prime cut through. State police just don't patrol Route 9. So, that they increased from that, and a lot of our public streets are right off that main highway. So, right. So there's a lot more potential coming in. There's plenty of crime. The detectives are beyond busy. So, after
Howard, I have a
talking-
question for you.
Yeah.
When I look at the handout we got on Saturday, the budget summit,
Mhm.
we have 25 headcount in police department plus business admins. We won't count that, but 25. Subtract out the chief, lieutenants, and sergeants, detectives, and we have 15 officer spots, 2 new, which is what is still on the docket.
Right.
And does anyone remember if the one that's open was that the overnight person
That was the
that
overnight.
left?
Yeah, she left because she
So-
handled them midnight. So those are
Okay, so technically 3 openings.
yes.
or-
There's 2
okay,
budgeted
okay.
to come in April, and then they have to add the 1 back for the overnight shift.
Okay, all right. But when we're being asked to, about the new, not the replacement. So the replacement is a given, or
The replacement is already budgeted. and
You may
paid
not
for.
know,
We're
but-
actually saving money
Okay.
right now because it's not. being
Okay.
filled. There are 2 positions that we agreed at last town meeting to fund starting in April.
Mhm. Okay,
And
thank you
those-
for helping
Right.
clarify.
So those are the ones that when looking for cost savings, that was, whether taking 1 or 2 of those was proposed.
Okay,
And from my meeting and of how it's going, whatever, I will not recommend that.
Hey, Howard, assuming that these 2 that they do get filled, I mean, anticipating needing future hires, is he looking 2 or 3, 4 or 5 years out? What does that look like?
Yep, I asked the same question. He's content with where it is right now. He can't commit to having a good crystal ball. Again, we have 240Bs and that potential MSCA plus Costco, especially being right off the highway. They're anticipating that to be actually a high crime center.
Interesting.
Because again, it's easy to get in and out and get right on the highway. So, whether it's breaking into cars or whatever, but each one is a call for an officer. So they expect and are planning for an increase because of that. There's already data, and they've already seen it when Madison Place went in. Not that it's a bad element moving in, but when people are living that much closer to each other, you hear your neighbors, the walls, etc. There's a lot more domestic calls. Some valid, some not. But people, there's studies done that if people live, that closer together, then there's more domestic calls.
All right. So there are potential drivers of future need, but to be determined. Yeah.
But he's not asking for any. He's not expecting any for next year. The study, I think, actually said he needed more. He's sensitive to the budget as well. And he's not for next year. At least next year as well. He wasn't planning to ask for any more. So
Thank you.
And Eric, once we finally move to the regional communications, that's like a almost $700,000 savings, at least for the first 3 years.
First couple
The state
years.
picks up the bill, and then I think they're still anticipating a few, like $300,000 or $400,000 savings go forward. So
right,
we'll have a little relief. I don't know if that's then next year. I think it hits next year.
next year.
Howard.
It's
Yeah.
next year, and again, that's not even in the budget yet. So
It's a separate budget,
right?
so it'll just
But it's not in the police budget. Is right? They're still planning the way it is now. I talked to them a lot about the vehicles. Looking for savings. Do we need all of them? And they were pretty adamant. That they've thought about that, and they're trying to be budget sensitive as well. They're trading in larger vehicles for smaller vehicles. They trying to get things, but where cars in the past, one of the cars they're asking for are Broncos.
Yep.
1.3 liter engines, they're turbo boost, and they're much smaller and more efficient cars than, they used to have, an Explorer or even an Expedition was the traditional car for some of these. So they're trading in a much more expensive vehicle for two smaller, more economical vehicles, which they think they will do the job, more than adequately, but will also help, try to be budget sensitive. The police cars themselves, it's how many people do you have on patrol? So with the current plan
Yeah.
for patrol, the cars make sense. The new collective bargaining agreement was a little more generous in vacation or time out, paternity and maternity leave. So they looked into that and the overtime budgets as well. They really were sensitive to it and really tried to pare it down as much as possible. The numbers are what they are, and if we don't ask for it here, then we're going to have it in overtime budget rate as well. So, I won't put words in your mouth, but I know select board also. I was Kathy and also met with the police chief, asking similar questions. Frankly, I will share with you. There's a whole document, and I haven't shared with you yet that they put together a whole document. When they heard that they might lose an officer, there's a whole 2-page document that they put together of what it means, and it makes very valid points. I believe select board hasn't voted yet. I think they're talking Tuesday, but I believe they're gonna share my opinion that this is not the place we should cut.
And I think it just goes to show that it's entirely driven basically by staffing and the contract. Right? The only way, I mean, they're as you can see, the operating expense budget is flat year over year because they just moved one up from the bottom. So that didn't even increase by inflation, right? So it's the only way to move the needle is headcount.
Yeah, and the collective bargaining agreement has moved a lot of that, really. So.
Yeah. I mean, for me, that's why the officers moving forward or not is really the only, one of the only items to debate here. When you said they interviewed 40 people, was that for both positions? Are they hiring like on the
They have
same?
applications for 40.
Oh,
But when they put out the request,
okay.
Request
They
for
had 40
hiring,
applicants
they had
for
40
both.
applicants for two people.
I think they posted all three positions.
They post them together. Okay, that was just okay. So that's still a very good return of interest, which seems higher than it was. So I think that says something about the strong
There was something
work
that they said
Chief
when
Newell is
you
doing.
have them in groups, it's
Yeah.
more favorable because people think that they're not going to be the low men on the totem pole, that there's two
I
other
know.
people that are also going to be.
Oh no, we see that too. That's why I was asking. I was curious if it was for all three. Okay.
And just on a personal note, we brought it to the town meeting universally, well, not universally, but strongly supported those two new officers last year. And perhaps the town is, I think, also said this is what we want. To take them away now or propose taking them away just seems, I don't know. Wrong.
Yeah, it's just it's a hypothetical exercise, Howard. Then on the private sector, you would say, "Listen, we need to cut money. Okay, we need to cut headcount. Okay, do we have any open headcount that aren't filled? Like you look there first, right?" And unfortunately, I think the only one we don't have filled might be in police. There might be, I don't know, fire one too. But
yep, and I get it, and I completely understand the game, and but we did the due diligence of why and how, and
and we can right now it's in, like we didn't take it out, right? It was just more of a hypothetical at that point in time, but yeah.
So but I was looking for savings in the cars or anything else too, and they really had good answers. They feel they've already cut as much as they can into that as well. So
and we still haven't heard back from the private schools in terms of contributions there. I think NEC agreed that they'll increase their contribution $10,000 for one of the cars, so we took that off, but we haven't heard back from Fay or St. Mark's, which hopefully there's another 150,000 that gets knocked off there for the cars.
And I shared an idea with Kathy last week, so I talked to her about other idea there too.
Okay.
So I think select board is going to take this up on Tuesday, and when I spoke to Kathy, one of the requests was that, it would be good to see, sort of advisories take on some of these budget items so that they would, at some point we need to vote on everything here, but based on our discussion tonight, that's going to be really hard to do, not knowing the outcome of March 2nd. But we could perhaps, share our sentiments about these two officers in particular, if that's what the committee wishes to do. Andrew, I see you.
I mean, I would be willing to
Hesitate,
take a
perhaps.
vote on the operating budgets.
Okay.
I think if we need to do anything, it's gonna need to be on the capital side, right? I just think we've
Yeah, I agree.
gone enough on the operational side. Like,
I
so
agree.
I would feel comfortable telling the
You wanna do that?
select board that, and let me put that back up. On the operational budget tab, we don't, I mean, besides, Algonquin coming with a new number or Assabet's
Right.
final number or, some of that kind of stuff that we just kind of plug in here. But the stuff that's within, these budgets here that are within our control,
Yep.
I think I'd feel comfortable sending to them that this is what we feel the number is. Even again, if this number changes, it is what it is, right? That's an
Yeah.
assessment. They just send you the bill. And then, if healthcare changes, great. Whatever it is what it is. But
Right.
I would say for everything else, and then again, if March 2nd goes, all three get approved, and
We'll swing ahead.
we have to do that, then it's, maybe we look on the capital side, or I don't know, or we look on the revenue side.
Yep.
But
Does everyone feel comfortable with that approach? In support of what they're trying to accomplish and what we're trying to accomplish in a very short amount of time?
Yeah, I'm okay.
I
with
don't
it.
think I see any heads nodding, but I don't hear any
Yeah.
disagreement.
I think Andrew's spot on. There's some stuff you just can't touch, as what we just saw at the police budget. Even if we wanted to, it just doesn't make
I
sense.
know.
And I agree. I don't think we should budget. We can control the capex, and that's where the discussion probably lies. The stuff you can control.
Yeah. And I think
All right. So,
I think we're
Yeah,
in
and
level, but ask for level service, most of the stuff, there's not much discussion, right? So. I think.
Yeah, and anything that came in, like, we had the planner, which wasn't really a level service. Everything else has pretty much been held. Library did decrease the ask. I think it was $5,000. They ended up coming and finding a little extra money there.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't exactly what we asked, but they sharpened the pencil a little bit.
Yeah.
And I don't see it listed here, Andrew, but that facilities capital van, is it now on the, it's not on there yet.
It is on here. Yeah, I forgot to talk about that.
So FYI, there was an email
But
generated
yeah,
by John
facilities,
Parent.
replace utility van, 65,000.
Oh, there it is. Okay. So just to bring everyone up to speed on that with what I saw in the emails, perhaps all of advisory was on that email. I'm not really sure at the moment, but basically their van is no longer safe to drive, and they need a replacement. And it is now listed here. This was an unexpected change.
Actually, I just thinking about it right now, but maybe we had done something similar when the vehicle for the building inspector ended up being unsafe, and we did a reserve fund transfer.
We did, yeah.
So,
I remember that.
I'm not saying we want to do that here, but it just came into my head that might be something we would want. I think they did it free cash because then they can do it earlier, but maybe this would warrant a reserve fund transfer instead of a free cash, and then it would fall off for next year's budget.
I mean, you can't really say it's an emergency when we're talking about it right in our budget right before town meeting, right?
Yeah. It seemed, I would maybe not say emergency, but it seemed urgent, an urgent request. And anyway, I haven't heard if Capital has really weighed in on that either. Jason and others were, I think, on that email. So
again, I
maybe
think
more to
that's
come,
one
but-
that, depending on what it is or how we want to do it, we I haven't heard from Capital yet or seen anything in writing there, but it's technically in here right now.
Okay, thank you. I wanted to make sure we pointed that out.
So Andrew,
All right,
just a quick point of clarification. Police vehicles, you have 10,000 to be funded by NEC. Did you reduce that by the 10,000?
Yes, I think it was 2 vehicles for 40,000, right? For 80,000 total. So that's been.
Okay, just my,
I'm just gonna. Yeah, let me. Good point. Let me. That was Brian's note over here, but I'm gonna keep it in the note section. So yeah, that if they don't end up
Okay.
doing the 65, or also can we get creative with, I don't know, do we have an old rec van that nobody's using, or I don't know. But yeah,
I'm not sure yet.
You could
All right, so go ahead,
Yeah.
Eric.
you could probably pick up a used vehicle for that one for sure. Yeah.
All right, does everyone feel comfortable with the suggestion that we take a vote on the operational budget for select board awareness? And we will continue to debate capital and other items depending on the March 2nd outcome and other potential changes.
yeah, I think the
Yeah.
message is, yeah, to your point, I think the operational budget won't change, but
Yep.
Currently, I think we tell them the current number we have is, we're $90,000 or $91,000 in the black. We're
Yeah.
pretty confident that none of the operational budgets that are within advisory's control, Assabet benefits, Algonquin will change. But and so we're pencils down on that at this point in time.
I'm
And
sorry. Does that include Article 1?
It does. It's up here in
Okay,
free
what?
cash, 175.
Why are we including Article 1? We're assuming it's going to pass?
We're assuming that, yeah, well, again, it's our recommendation. I mean, again, if whatever happens, we'll change the number on free cash, but we're just forecasting what we think would happen.
It just seems odd to me that we're including option 1, but we're not including options 2 or 3.
We could take them
Like
all
either
out, I suppose.
it's also what we recommended in our last vote, Tim, so.
Hmm.
So this is our budget based on what we're recommending, so we can go either way if.
Also,
I mean,
clear, Howard, not everybody, right? I mean, just to be clear.
I
That's
think
true.
the
That's not
I think
everybody,
we're
that's right.
unanimous.
I
Yeah,
think the
there was a majority, you're correct. The
majority did, yeah.
Yeah, 2 and 3 were not majority, but
Right.
but again, the what is here is what gets presented to town meeting from advisory's budget perspective, right? So it's even if they approve it, we could say that this is still the number, and it's they're going to have to come up with the extra number
The
someplace else.
difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there a way to just, I mean, devil's advocate, because I don't, is there a way to pull that number out, and is there a way to show it on the bottom of, like an A, B, and C, this is the number thing, but if you approve 1, it goes down to this, and approve
Yeah, I
2,
mean, you could say
right.
this is
So-
what we, and this is if we do none of these studies,
right,
this is what we think is.
Mhm.
Now, we think we're supportive of 1 of the 3, but if you do all 3, then we got some work to do to get
And-
back in
and
the black,
4 in there
or
somewhere?
we need to approve our override.
Right.
Right.
And it's 4 in there somewhere?
What?
4?
Or
Where's the roof?
the roof.
Or
That's going to be a borrowing
roof.
article.
That's over here.
Yeah. So we have with 1, it's 90. With none, it's 266. And with all 4, or all 3, I
was
guess
it?
you would say, all 3.
Yeah,
What-
there was.
Look, it's not inconceivable that town meeting could reject 1 and accept 2. So what would the number be in
It's
that
true.
scenario?
Yeah, so
That's
if we
why I
look
said
at the
put a number on
warrant,
each one, right? So,
yeah, I mean, and then it's if you do all 3, or if you do 2 and 3, there was what, a $80,000 savings by not having to do the
Right.
plan again. So
mhm.
yeah, it was 500, 175, and 324.
Maybe the
Yeah.
simplest thing is just to take it out completely.
That's what we have here.
Yeah, I think that's probably the way to go.
Well, and I don't think in the letter, Marcy, we necessarily talk about the budget impact. I mean, this is more.
We're
this
not
is more
for
for
March
annual
2nd.
town meeting, right?
Yeah,
So we'll
yeah.
know by the time we get there
We
what
will.
it is.
exactly. We'll
It's
have it
just-
down.
Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
what do we anticipate if forecast we're going to need when we get to the annual town meeting so that we
Yeah.
can view our budget process in parallel. We're basically forecasting what we think town meeting is going to do in March.
Yeah.
In anticipation of April, but we can always revise it after March.
Hey, Andrew or whoever, when is the letter published for the annual town meeting on?
We usually do it like a week beforehand. Sometimes it's like the day before.
Okay.
We're
It's
shooting
just
for a
like
week.
we submit it at My Southborough, put it on our website, and print it to put on the tables at town meeting.
Like that's why we're going to do our letter next, the sort of bullets at least, so that we can get it done for the meeting on the 2nd. We're doing that tonight, just really quickly, like at least bullets. But the April meeting, we haven't started that letter yet.
Yeah, no, clear that, and I think that's the point I take away is it's still a moving target, of course.
Yep. All right. So, are we
Oh,
done
so
discussing the
Do we
budget?
need to make a motion there, Marcy? I guess.
Yeah, I think so. I think that would be
Okay.
helpful. You know,
Let
that
me put
we are.
Let me put it
Go
back
ahead.
up just so everybody sees the numbers that we're voting on. Okay. I'm just gonna do the operational budget first. So
Yep.
I move that advisory recommends to preliminarily recommends to town meeting and to the select board a operational budget totaling 70,887,098 for FY27 as presented.
Second,
All right. Roll call vote. Tim,
Aye.
Howard,
Aye.
Eric,
Aye.
Barry,
aye.
Andrew,
Aye.
Marcy is aye. All right. Thank you. More to
then-
come on the.
Do we want to
go
vote on the other stuff, or I mean, we know it's kind of a work in progress. I don't know if we need to necessarily.
Can you
I-
scroll down a little? Is that it? Okay. go back.
So this is the top here.
That's okay.
So I think the utility van is still, in my mind, a question mark.
We don't know. Yep.
And then whether or not we end up getting any
Right.
other pilot payments would certainly help here.
Yep.
I mean, Andrew,
And
I think your point, there's time after March 2nd.
Yeah.
Exactly.
More
For us
clear.
to edit and tweak and
If you want to approve the roof at 4.5, I think I don't know if you piecemeal it or you do the whole thing. I mean, it's probably kind of inefficient
we-
to do that, but
We
I
already,
think we should wait on
we-
these.
and that makes it I don't believe select board was able to change Article 4. So
They
in the
did not.
warrant, it's still the 6.85. So that's why we're
Correct.
at town meeting for that one, because we only voted
Yeah.
on it at 4.5. So I guess they'll edit it on the floor. But
Yep.
just that's why we don't have the ADA and 6.85 total.
Yep. I think we should hold these for now.
Yeah. The rest, we could say this is what we have as
For
our
now.
current working version.
Yep.
But-
Okay.
I'd like to discuss these more too. So
Yeah, I think
looks like some
It's-
dropped off, which is good.
it's too hypothetical at this moment for some of these things. Okay. All right. Moving on then to our draft letter. I think just trying to get at least some bullets down. I did start the draft. Andrew had it up a second ago. For the sake of this discussion, I copied and pasted in the language of the articles. We probably won't put all of that there. But I did add in the votes, except for I don't know if I did for Article 4, if I had that right. I have to scroll down. I was copying and pasting so fast. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I do have it there. Okay. And then I put in some just bullets myself on some of these. And I know I reached out to some folks who had voted yes on Article 2 and 3 as well. So I don't know if it would be helpful if we could just get advisory members' thoughts here on things you want to include, and then we will make the letter, not a bulleted format, but more of a narrative format, and get it done. So we were unanimous on Article 1, and I put a few thoughts there that were my own, basically, and probably some others as well. It uses the existing location. The renovation option versus demolition ultimately may be more cost effective. Potential for cost benefit, particularly if option 2 is feasible. Roof repairs immediate need, which in turn supports future use of near as a building. Those were just some of my thoughts as I was typing this up this afternoon. But would welcome others to please add, because I know there's more.
I think it's fiscally responsible. If assuming 4 passes, I think the roof is, I don't think there's a way not to do the roof. And if you're putting a new roof on the building,
Yeah.
option 1 is the most, fiscally responsible way to do it for the town. So looking from a, take all the passages, looking from a straight, money standard, that seems to be the most logical
Yeah.
way to do
All
it.
right, I'm going to push back on you a little bit. Look, you can have your own opinion, but without, this is a fundamental point, without the data, it's hard to see, it's definitively say what option is, less costly or more. Clearly, option 2 is lower than option 1, but to compare it to the other options, and that's kind of the whole point of why I supported it, is because we just don't have the information. None of us in this room have any experience costing these things, so it's purely speculative. So I would just caution using that type of definitive statement.
Okay. And
I think we would use, maybe, or it's an excellent point, Eric. Thank you. And I
I'm not
think
even sure using maybe. I think it's more because we just don't know.
Oh, hopefully.
hopefully, well, we still have to. I agree with you, Eric, but we still have to. If somebody said, "Why did you vote yes for Article 1?" We have to explain that in the context of what we know today. So, is there a way of doing that without, and still honoring what you're
Frame it up a
saying?
little differently. If there weren't a budget issue,
Mhm.
and again, I'm not coming at it with a specific agenda on what option I agree with or don't. But if we, the city, didn't have the budget issue, the other 2 articles and their cost, would it be less of a concern or a point for the other folks who didn't support them?
No.
If we had not a budget problem, I mean, if it was 100,000 for each one of those options, or even 175, but $500,000.
Yeah.
Well, that's an interesting point, Andrew, because it seems awfully high, and like I haven't interrogated the numbers, don't know how to. Maybe it comes down, but
Yeah, I mean, 1 and 2 is cheaper just because a lot of the stuff was done as part of the NERI feasibility, right? A lot of the site
from
plan.
a cost perspective, but I'm thinking the next step with the building itself. Yes, it's obviously feasibility.
Oh yeah, I'm just talking about the feasibility. I mean, feasibility study for a Lego building, whatever. Building agnostic. It's just the cost in general. I think is that.
Yeah. And look, I respect that. Just to be clear, I fully respect everybody's position on it, and the cost is certainly an eyebrow raiser.
Again, Eric, we respect your opinion too. Like I said, for me, if I'm putting a roof on a building to make it whole, right, compared to new construction, I've already done, 50% of the project in that bill. So adding sprinklers, adding the ADA, the building is already there. You're talking new construction, and someone who I did that for a living, right? The new construction and all that. If we didn't have to put the roof, if the roof wasn't so that we could survive another year, I'd be all about the studies. But looking at that roof and knowing it has to go on, you're throwing away the $4 million if you dump that building after the fact, and that's a big throwaway for me.
And then that, to me, that seems like a very legitimate point, Howard, to present as a supporting point for sure.
Yeah, throwing away the $4 million is a big. Again, once you, like I said, if that roof could survive, you could, build a tent over the building and make it last another year while we figure this out. I'm more than for it. I'm actually honestly personally curious about what the studies would produce, but I don't think it's a good use of money.
Fair enough.
So I think the bullet there, Howard, would take what you said and add to it. The roof repairs immediate need, which in turn supports the future use of the building. So I will add, the additional cost of the roof, in some way. I'll finagle it, but basically add that to that statement there. or
Would
combine them.
would we want to mention that it's the preferred option of school administration as a factor?
Well, and select board too, technically.
Yes, so I didn't include the votes here, but that is correct. Barry, you're right. Of both. So we can make that as a point too. Without going into their rationale, but I think primarily is the educational component and programming. But I'll do some more looking at their.
So
They
the
actually
line-
produced a very nice document on that. I saw it the other day with all
the
the
line I would
options.
say, Mark, on that is, and I've
ahead.
seen some of the noise on Facebook, and
Yeah.
the letter that I have, which by the way, it's done. I'm happy to share it in whatever
Oh,
format. you-
perfect.
The work that we did over the summer was very clear around the various options and their ability to meet the district needs.
Yeah.
So as far as the programming consideration, I would say that the NERI in and of itself does not have better programming or better or worse than the other options that were considered, because all of the options as they were analyzed were renovated or remodeled in such a way to ensure that the programming was going to meet the district needs. Right.
Yeah.
Another reason why the school committee support it, and I'm not, which is fine. Again, they have that right, and I don't really have, again, personally, I don't know which option's the best, and I certainly respect their view. It's more around the choice consideration, but I would just be cognizant of not getting into like it's programmed better. I think Howard's point is spot on. Yes, you're already dumping 4.5 in. You can that certainly offsets future cost, but from a programming perspective. The other options are not per se inferior.
So I would suggest then we just leave out, since this is advisory letter, perhaps we leave out what the school committee thinks and what a select board thinks.
At least, well, we should put what we think. We just
Correct,
yes,
but
we
the ask was, should we include that they support this option as part of our thought process?
And Eric, just to be clear, my thinking was strictly on an advisory level of a financial thing.
Yeah.
Right? And $4 million is a lot to give up. So
Your point. Look, I think your point is spot on. So, Marcy, by the way, do you want me to forward you the letter now, or how do you want? You can take a look.
Either way, or if you just want to add, you can definitely do that. And then, so I guess the other question, Eric, I had asked you and others who voted yes on some of. I didn't get to everyone. I apologize, but. Sometimes when we produce our letters, we add the yes and the no's. We don't always do that. So I guess that is up for decision. If you feel strongly about your yes and want to work with, we can integrate the other folks who voted yes on 2 and 3 into that response, or, we can definitely go that path. There's times when we just say, this is the one we support and this is our rationale. But for example, for the schools, we included the yes and no, or the abstain, I think it was at that point.
Yeah, and like I found
to bring that up again.
I found and tried to model it. I'll forward. Look, we can do whatever.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, go ahead and forward it, Eric, and then. Yeah.
And we can do whatever makes sense. Yeah.
Have we captured our yes vote here? Do we have enough info? Any other thoughts?
So is it existing location or existing building? Location is a hot topic.
Yeah, when I wrote that, I meant the existing building, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because again, that's one of the
You could
reasons.
just take that whole bullet out. I mean, again, I'm not leaving it like this, Howard, but
I'm just
just a thought.
clarifying. I'm just saying that the location is one of the hot topics.
know.
Why to use it or not?
I know. Oh no, yeah. In an ideal world, I think I would be in favor of something that doesn't exist at that location, but didn't cost 120 million.
Censure.
Thank you. All right. Let's move on then to Article 2.
Marcy, I did just dump our meeting transcript into ChatGPT to summarize it. If you want to
good.
share that,
that's
and
excellent.
take a look.
Perfect. Definitely. I
don't know.
I thought you
never-
might be up to something, Andrew. I didn't
I
see
was
you
doing something in the
typing.
background, but I haven't read it yet, but it looked promising, so I figured I'd share
Okay.
it on the fly.
Thank you.
Okay, so
All right.
open to supporting it. Not just it's just a study, not the project.
Yep.
Here's the town choices. Builds on existing work. That's just
Mhm.
feasibility studies cheaper, not the projects. To Eric's point.
Yep.
Article 1 is hard to understand. Yeah, definitely it.
Even
Everyone?
Chat
Yes.
GPT says this. Wow.
Well, this is just going over what our transcript was
know.
from the meeting, but yeah.
You know, Andrew, it's interesting you say that because I spoke to Tim Fling today, and I think he's been talking to folks and who don't pay any attention to this in real time, and their heads were spinning. It's super. And in fact, I rewrote mine to try to really make it as simple as I could. This stuff it's going to be interesting that people to get up to speed at the town meeting on all this.
Yeah. All right. That looks good, Andrew. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I
we'll-
could do the
we'll
same
finesse
thing
this.
for
Perfect.
the other ones, but yeah, I'll send you.
Okay.
Yeah, let's do this one here. If you want, yeah, compare committee's view on articles 1 versus article
Oh, you took the transcript from our last meeting, you mean?
from our last meeting, yeah.
Yes. Okay. I thought you were taking it from real live meeting. Okay.
No, not this one. Yeah, I just took the subtitle transcript
Right.
from YouTube and sent it to ChatGPT and said,
Okay. All right. Yeah. Article 2. Oh, where's my notes here? Yeah, this is a 500 for the Trotty or Finn combo.
"Yep, this is what they came up for Article 2."
Okay.
I remember we talked about that. Like, can we do that just the first phase? And I
Yeah.
think that was true.
I like this comment here. It's a major strategic shift, not just a renovation, you know.
Or reactive to public pressure and driven by.
It is fun to see what they come up with.
Mhm.
I know. Eric, in summary, you were on the committee in the summer that did a lot of the heavy lifting here. Would you summarize that your yes vote for everything is just so that we have all the information we need?
That's the fundamental. It's about the choice and awareness.
Yeah.
And again, if you look at the feedback from May, cost was clearly a big driver, but just the lack of choice. And
Yep.
and you see, I mean, the basic point is by only approving one, you're therefore limiting choice yet again.
Yeah.
If the $60 million NERI doesn't get approved at the brand new school, which I would say there's risk of that, then you're stuck with a renovation, which nobody's going to, I mean, a ton of, anyway, you see my letter.
Yep. Okay. All right. All right.
I didn't
So
think the
article.
educational considerations at all, Marcy, was really just around the choice point.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with you. I think not going down that path, programming and education, and we'll leave that to school committee and others to outline. So I think we have a pretty good start. Article 3, Andrew, will anyone have specific comments that they want to make sure is included in Article 2 and 3 for the no support or the yes, besides what you've sent Eric in your letter, in your document? No. Okay. All right.
And then Marcy, I just did Article
good.
4. If you want me to put
Okay.
that one up.
Yeah, sure. Put that one up.
You should put it the answer in 72-point font.
Or
I think that first statement is several people have made a similar one there. The roof is urgent and unavoidable. I mean, I
we
think
could
that's
say urgent or avoidable. Timing
if
is
we if we
critical.
just put one sentence, yeah, that would be it.
Compatible with future renovation. If we do that, it wouldn't be wasted money.
Yeah. Basic safety. Yep. Okay.
fusing relationship with Article 1, yeah, we had that.
Yeah.
Did Article 4 become for Article 1? Yep, definitely had that question. ADA.
Yeah, that's so funny. It's funny. See,
I asked him, I believe.
you did, I think. What does it say their bottom line is?
Yeah.
Time
Article 4
sensitive
is necessary
repair that will
time-
likely.
We can take out the likely be supported, but
Yeah, we will. We'll edit that. Okay.
so yeah.
Well, I think a good discussion. We will keep working on that, and we'll share for feedback and move on from there. Okay. Next item on our agenda tonight. Meeting schedule. One specific question I have that I need to answer Jim Hegarty on is, do you want to meet before special town meeting on the 2nd? Because they reserve rooms and we have to pull an agenda and those kind of things. So that's specific to those 4 articles. Does anyone feel like we want to have a meeting before the meeting on location at Trotter?
Is
No.
it intended for us to sit and talk amongst ourselves or the public, or what's generally the point?
It's
Yeah,
usually,
so-
Eric, if we have any like last minute changes that we want to have a full throated discussion on, because we can vote at town meeting, like if like for Article 4, right? Once they
Right.
come up with a new number, we can say, what does
Right.
everybody think? Okay, we're in support of that, right? We can just do it at the table. It's
Yep.
more if we're really like changing something or want to
Yeah.
approve
Yeah.
minutes. I don't
Yeah.
see us needing it, Marcy, but up to you.
Probably not. One time we did that, Eric, was to fund like when we were debating the study for the first go around, the $1 million. We voted that at town meeting, and actually some folks came to our meeting to give sort of a final pitch on that.
And so I guess, Marcy, question with respect to what I sent you and how you want to configure it and the presentation on what we publish,
Mhm.
is that something just to talk offline about? Is that something we need to get there as a group? Again, I'll follow guidance. I don't really have a strong opinion one way or the other than I'd like as much of the content to be used if possible. But
Okay.
like that
Okay.
decision, is that something we get together as a group, or is that just something that we talk about offline?
Yeah, so I think the next step, Andrew, you can feel free to chime in. You've been doing this a lot longer than me. We will take our discussion tonight, things that are sent along an email, compile a draft or a near final draft, send it to folks for comment and feedback before it moves forward.
Yeah, I think if we give Marcy, authority to draft it with everybody's comments, Eric, your comments on those other ones. If anybody has any specific comments, send it just to Marcy. She could compile it, and then what we've done in the past is send it out to everyone prior to any publication.
Yeah.
Okay.
And basically it's a speak now or hold your peace kind of thing. Like get back to us within, whatever it is, 24 hours.
Yeah.
If people haven't, then if there is an issue, let's have a meeting and discuss it fully. But if everybody's okay with it or doesn't have an issue with the report that's been, the letter that's been done, then basically we can publish it.
So then, Marcy, your ETA for the first draft to circulate would be what? It's probably got to be Monday or Tuesday, yeah?
Yeah, it has to be quick. That's why I got it on the agenda tonight with a working draft. So we will try to get that turned around on, no later than Monday to everybody, and a response so that if we need to call a meeting, we can do so by the end of next week. Trying to avoid Friday
by the
night.
end of the day, Tuesday, we decide whether or not we need to have,
Okay.
or maybe midday Tuesday, so we can get an agenda for Thursday if we need to. But I mean, posting the letter Thursday night, Friday is not that late for some of the ones that we've sent out.
Yeah,
I think we'll be fine.
To read it. Yeah, as long as I have the weekend to read it before the meeting, we're okay.
Yeah.
And this isn't the annual town report, so it's not quite as thorough as the usual ones where they need more time to digest it.
And it's only
Right.
4 articles, right? So it's not.
Yeah.
40.
So if you recall, Eric, we had a specific meeting last time because we had 10 articles.
Right.
Yeah, and we went through it and anyway.
A lot of times we actually, Tim, we didn't always do special town meeting reports, I don't think. We did some of them when they were like big articles or big things, but I don't remember always doing one.
No, I don't think so.
That's good to know. Maybe we didn't have to do one here, but I think this is an important
I
one.
think it's good. I mean,
You know.
I think we should get in the habit of doing it. I just
I
historically
didn't even
didn't
know it
always
was
do
an
it.
option. We'll get it out. Okay.
It's not an option for the annual. We're required to do it.
Okay.
It doesn't necessarily specify annual versus special. It just says town meeting. So it kind of.
Okay. So I think we've answered the question on, we probably do not need a meeting, a special town meeting, March 2nd. To be determined if we need a meeting like next week. It depends on concurrence of the letter or if we need further discussion. And I think then we can decide, we will know more after March 2nd, the number of meetings we need before the April meeting, if that makes sense. The meetings before the meetings. Okay. All right. Next on the agenda, meeting minutes. I think we still have October 14th to approve, Claire.
No, we did that at the
We did
last
it all. We
meeting.
finished that last time. Okay. I
Yeah,
just wanted to make sure. So I don't think we have others to approve tonight then.
no, and, but just one update that I wanted to give to people.
Sure.
I have, we kind of fooled around with it with the wastewater study committee,
Yep.
that, I'm on. Found out that Copilot does a very good job
They do.
summarizing.
Yep.
So
does.
it's, I'm gonna do that. I have, 3 hours of flying time this weekend, so, it's a good time to work with that, so I'll have those for the next meeting.
You need
All
internet
right.
access for that though, right?
I couldn't hear you, Howard.
You need
Wait.
internet access for Copilot to do that.
Mm. I think he's meaning on the flight, Claire, or if you're
On the flight,
like
you'll have to
traveling.
get internet access. You can't. Copilot doesn't work on its own usually.
Yeah, you
Oh.
need. Yeah,
You need
for
internet
run
access.
the algorithms.
Oh, that's kind of interesting. Okay.
But
Well,
if you're maybe if you're on JetBlue, you may be able to work.
I-
out.
Yeah. You'll
I
have
can-
more time some other
I
way.
can run them ahead of time and then just edit what they put out.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I'm just.
No,
I'm
thank
just-
you for letting me know. That's a big
Yeah.
help. I didn't.
Sorry, I use
didn't know
I
that.
use it daily, so yes, it's a great feature, but you do need internet access for it to work.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. Appreciate it.
Anything else for us, Claire? Anything else for tonight? Nope.
Nope.
Okay. Thank you for your help. Next item is any other business brought forth to the committee. Anyone have anything else you want to raise this evening?
Be sure to check the audience. There's probably about 10 people.
I'm looking now. Yeah, we have. There was several there earlier.
So, Mr. Wood.
So next item is public comment. If anyone has public comment,
I guess if they have better things to do on a Friday night at 7:30.
I don't see any hands raised. All right. And last but not least, then a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I'll move. Second.
Like,
All right, roll call vote. Andrew,
Aye.
Barry,
Aye.
Tim,
I
Eric,
aye.
Howard,
Aye.
Marcy is aye. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining tonight on short notice as well. Thank you.
Thanks.
Weekend, everyone.
Take care.
take
Take
care.
care. Oh, I forgot Tim.